what I'd like to do this week with this recording is to give you some hints on how to actually compute probabilities, discrete probabilities from Chapter 5 for binomial and Poisson distributions. It's really easy with PHStat. It's a lot harder if you have to do those calculations by hand and use the formulas. And Excel requires that you put lots and lots of formulas in, and it gives you a table you still have to do subtracting and adding to get the probability you're looking for. So what I would recommend you do is open up PHStat in Excel. And remember, again, to do that, you're going to go to File Explorer, wherever you can get to your files. I would go down, and mine is actually on my disk I use for work, under the folder for your class, and it's in a folder called PHStat. So you open up PHStat first, and this opens up within Excel. So instead of opening Excel up directly, you open it up this way. Every time you do this, you're going to get the Enable Macros notification. Click on it and say yes. It won't work if you don't do it, so you need it, and it's safe. So for this one, you get a blank workbook. You don't have any data, so for binomial and Poisson distributions, you're rarely given data sets. Usually, what you're given is some information about the problem. So this first one, example 5.2 on page 174 in your book, it gives you some information. It tells you that you have a sample size of 4 and a probability of 10%. That's all you need to make PHStat work with a binomial distribution. So go to PHStat, and then under probability and probability distributions, go down and pick off binomial. It'll open up a sheet in the workbook. And again, your sample size for this problem was 4. Binomial distributions always have a sample size, so you're looking for the probability of 0 occurrences, or 1 occurrences, or 2 occurrences, or 3 occurrences, or 4 occurrences out of 4 chances. So the probability of interest that they tell us they're interested in, or probability that they have for this, is 10%. So 10% chance of occurring, and you have to tell it the outcomes for PHStat. So since our outcomes are from 0 to 4, I'm going to put a 0 to 4, and that will give me all the probabilities that you compute. And you want to make sure for this that you click off cumulative probabilities. This will give you a complete table, which means you don't have to do any adding and subtracting to get the answer to the question you're asked. Say OK, and it looks like magic things happen. It pops up on the screen. To the upper left, there's the data that you put in, the sample size and the probability. Down below this, it computes some statistics, which I'm sure they showed you how to do in the book. But again, I don't care about the computations in the book so much as I care about you being able to use Excel or some stats package in some way. The binomial table, which starts in cell B12 and goes down to cell G18, is what you're interested in here. So in this problem for section 5.2, example 5.2, they asked you to find the probability of greater than or equal to 3 occurrences out of 4. That is this number right here. So 0.37% chance of that occurring, really small probability. If they had asked you for the probability of 0 occurrences out of 4, it would have been this number over here, 65.61% chance. If they ask you for the probability of more than 0, that's going to be right here in the table, 0.3439. If they you could also will find that same number down here, it's the probability of 1 or more. So you add the probabilities up. So anyway, you should be able to find any probability you want right in this table. It's handy, it's easy. You of course can copy this whole thing and put it on your homework, and then just answer the questions below. So that's the binomial. For the, I'm going to go back to sheet 1 now, and the Poisson works kind of sort of the same way, except in a Poisson distribution, you do not have a limit. So, you know, it can go up to infinity. So with the Poisson, you go to PHStat, probability and probability distributions, Poisson down here at the very bottom, and it wants to know the average. So the example that we have on page 180, example 5.5, tells you that they have an average of 2.5 injuries per month. So 2.5 goes in here, and we want to again check cumulative probabilities and say OK. And there it is. So that's all it asks for. And you'll see that it goes all the way down to the probability of it happening 20 times, but you lose your numbers around 12. Well, around 11. You begin to, you've lost most of your probabilities. So in this problem, they want to know the probability that there are no work-related injuries. That's the probability of 0. So 8.21% chance of that happening. Anyway, and it works pretty much the same way the binomial does for reading things off. It really gets cumbersome if you're trying to compute these by hand. For instance, if they ask you for the probability of more than 4 and you had to compute it by hand, you would have to compute the probability of 0 plus the probability of 1 plus the probability of 2 plus the probability of 3 plus the probability of 4, add those together and then subtract from 1 to get your answer. You don't want to do all that work, so use PHStat. Thank you.